Welcome to Wisdom from the Mountain, a podcast about intuition, spirituality, and following your path. I'm your host, Tara Alexandria. I'm a psychic medium, intuitive guide, and healer. I'm here to support you to live from your intuition and find true healing and authentic growth. Thank you for being here and for your willingness to live your best life, for yourself and for the world around you. Hello, and welcome to Wisdom from the Mountain. I'm Tara. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Thank you so much for your presence here, for your presence on this planet, for the work that you're doing in the world. Thank you for your helpfulness on this planet. Thank you for your energy. Right now is a really difficult time for so many. And the first thing that I want to acknowledge today is the pain that many people are facing right now with this illness, being close to their lives, facing the death of a loved one, and facing the difficulty in care and hospitalizations. My heart is with each and every one of you facing this on the literal front lines, and who this is touching in a way that so many of us can't even fathom. Those of us who are facing a different sort of crisis, the kind of crisis that comes from financial changes, from changes in our households and in our families, those of us who are facing simply an uncertain future, are in this moment of being asked, how can we act and how can we react in this moment? What can we do? Today, I'm offering support out in this small way to those of you that are struggling with these feelings of what to do, of fear or anxiety around this uncertain future, this feeling or sense of where will you be, literally and figuratively, today and next month and next year. Today, I want to provide a little bit of an anchor point that you can return to through these feelings of uncertainty, and perhaps a way to navigate, maybe just internally this time. And really having a strong way to navigate internally is the very best thing you can do for yourself and others all of the time, but especially through uncertain times. So the very first thing that I feel I want to share is this idea that came up in many of my readings over the past month and throughout February. And the reason I want to start here is because in this type of work, there is often a cycle. There is often these ways of lessons showing up that are mirrored in other people, that are echoed. And one of the big things that was showing up for multiple clients through multiple readings for me was this not knowing. There were people who were in the middle of a job change, in the middle of relocating, and I was very unable to pin down timelines the way that I often can. I was very unable to give concrete steps and work. And a lot of intuitive work is about the emotional and spiritual counseling that a person needs. But sometimes it's very tangible. Sometimes it's very much about physical reality. And the physical reality part was not showing up. Spirit was coming in to these readings and saying, this is a time to be in limbo. This is a time to embrace each day and each moment in the best way that you can, but to have absolutely no expectations, no goals in terms of saying, I must do this or else. This is a time to be with your partners, to be with your families. This is a time to just be. And at one point, I thought to myself, how can this message be coming up so strongly for so many people? Am I missing something? Am I projecting something? And I feel that this aspect of our lives right now was already showing up in their future, was already reflecting itself through their life, whether that was showing up through the feeling of their job not being there in the same way, or their space changing, their home changing. There was this common thread. So I've given it a lot of thought. What were the lessons that were so important for each person, and what was necessary for them to understand or embrace through this time? I'm just going to share 3 things that came up, 3 things that are anchor points or lessons or um, just mindsets that you can hold onto during this time and to lean into, because the more that you can work with internal navigation through these times, the better that you will feel and the better that you will show up each day for yourself and those in your life, whatever it may be that you need, whatever it may be that they need. So the first thing that I believe is being asked of you when you are in limbo, when you are in the not knowing, in the uncertainty, the first thing that you're being asked to do is to show up exactly in this moment, to be so present that you literally ask yourself, what is the next thing to do right now, this minute, this hour, this day? What can I do today to show up for myself? What can I do today to show up for other people? In asking yourself those questions, you give yourself an anchor, a moment where a concrete something can come in and show itself to you. Concrete doesn't necessarily have to mean an action, because sometimes the way that we show up for other people is an emotional support. But reaching out to them is a physical action that you can take. Picking up the phone, turning on Skype, doing something that connects you to others can be the one thing that this moment is asking of you. Feeding yourself can be the one thing that this moment is asking of you. Giving yourself time to simply be is a huge gift, because sometimes it's so hard to just be. Sometimes all we can feel is our anxiety, and we are actually living in the future or living in the past or living in something in our minds that is not the now, that is not the present. And if we're not living in the present moment, if we're not bringing some sort of our attention to it, we can't show up in it. We can't actually bring ourselves fully to it, because our mind and our energy are elsewhere. The other side of this showing up in the moment is that it gives you an actual way to get out of your anxiety, to get out of your fear. So then instead of trying, you simply are out of them. You simply aren't in this swirl of feeling, because you're taking actions, because you're showing up in the moment, because you're tending to your feelings and tending to the people around you. Showing up in the moment also gives you the space and the understanding for your feelings and for other people's feelings. This is a time of literally big feelings. People are feeling so much and not realizing that some of their actions and reactions are happening because of those. And when you're showing up in the moment and you are literally anchoring yourself out of your own fears, out of your own anxieties, or giving yourself the space to recognize them and to be like, oh, I'm in anxiety right now. What can I do for myself? How can I help myself? How can I take care of my heart in this moment? But when you stand in those feelings and you know where you're at, you're able to calibrate your actions in the world. You're able to show up for those around you in a different way. And to even simply say clearly, I'm feeling really anxious right now. If I'm, saying this or doing that, just know I'm really experiencing a lot of anxiety or whatever your feelings may be. And when you are so in the moment and so anchored in pretty healthy and stable feelings in a given moment, you can show up for those around you that are experiencing their own feelings and maybe they don't know what to do with them. Maybe your children don't know what to do with their feelings right now. Maybe your partner, maybe your friends, and you have to be that strong guide in some moments for them where you can help them to sift through and re-anchor themselves in those feelings, help them to process them, to deal with them, to face them. So many people aren't used to facing their feelings. Often we just swallow them and try and go on with our day. And for so many of us that are seeing this uncertainty affect us, our feelings are suddenly present. They're suddenly in our face, and we don't know what to do with them. The second thing that I feel is so important and won't apply to everyone, but is something to give thought to, is the idea that you may be being asked to rest. So, my first point was saying to show up exactly in this moment. And when we're invited into rest, we're still showing up to the moment. Life is saying to us, you've been going too fast for too long. You've been trying too hard for too long. You've been running. You've been pushing. Maybe it's time to rest. So many of us don't know how to rest, don't know how to be. And the biggest thing that can often show up is this idea that we are lazy, this feeling of apathy, or this feeling of that we somehow aren't contributing or aren't doing something right. But that may not be the case, and probably is not the case if you're even questioning it, if you're even asking it. So many of us need to take space for ourselves, to take space for our own healing, for our own feelings. And if you're being invited to rest, it's very important to take it. This limbo period that you're in may be a gift that you can look back on later and say, wow, I really needed that. That was a time in my life that I had no idea I needed so much. And now here I am and on the other side of it, and I can see that. I wish that I had leaned into that more. I wish that I had set down more of the trying that was inside of me. I wish I had set down some of the struggle. So, my dear friend, if you are being invited into rest, take the opportunity. Know that you will be able to take care of yourself. Know that you can, but know that rest is just as important as action. Rest is an action. Know that rest is just as important as doing, because we do need to choose it. We do need to use it consciously and accept its presence in our lives when it really shows up and says, you need to slow down. You need to just be. You need rest. This leads me into the third and final point at this moment that I have to offer in terms of how to be in limbo, what to do in limbo, what's being asked of you in limbo. That is to simply trust. And when I say simply, I don't mean that it's simple and easy. I mean that it is simple if we can realize that trust is literally holding a space to know that what is coming next is still a moment that we will be okay in. That when you pick up this feeling of, oh no, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know how to take care of myself or my family or my home or whatever it may be, that it's very important to take a breath and to release some of those feelings of anxiety and upset, and to simply center yourself however you can in whatever your faith is. Trust does not mean that we have to blindly believe that everything is going to be wonderful and positive and happy, but it does mean that we can center ourselves in the knowing that we can handle the next moment, that what the next moment brings, we will be able to navigate. Holding trust and trusting that we can navigate is part of that internal system that we have to build in our lives in order to live from a space that is true to us and to really be with all of our life circumstances. Because life is always uncertain. The future is never fixed. It is never definite. It is never guaranteed to us. We have to remember that we're literally always being asked to trust the next moment. It's just that in a time like this right now, it's very in our face that we don't know what's next, that something is uncertain, whether it's our bank account or our relationships or our home. The uncertain things that we're facing are always uncertain, but really showing us that truth right now. So we have to be with that truth in a completely different way than before, in a way more anchored way. And some of us may think that we trust, that we believe, that we have faith. And I'm inviting you right now to hold it a little bit differently, a little bit bigger, in a way that is even more broad, that literally makes your faith bigger. I think that hard times are times when our faith can grow, our trust can grow, our beliefs can grow. Trust, faith, whatever you call it, however you connect to it, it is important. It is literally one of the most important, if not the most important, internal tools we have for life, and especially for the difficult parts of life. It is what we can lean into, lean against when we're tired, when we are in the unknown, when we feel lost and unsupported. It can bring that feeling of support back. It can bring that feeling of guidance back. So I truly hope that some little piece of this helped you. I hope that the time spent listening to this was, if anything, peaceful and just gave you some space, gave you something to help you anchor yourself, guide yourself, and help you feel a little bit more like you can face this time with so much power, because that power is inside of you. Thank you so much again for being here. I'm sending all of my love out to you. I am sending so much support. Take good care of yourself, however that looks for you right now. I'll talk to you soon.